It comes back. Long before you were alive and before your time, there was a story. It was always the same, never changing, never evolving, but it was and has been told over many centuries and many millennia. Time and time again, that story once dictated our lives. The problem is not the story, though. The problem is that the words and meaning of things change. Once upon a time, the word revolution meant to revolve. It was an observation based upon the cyclical nature of the celestial bodies. Words change, yet we assume that stories do not. When we hear stories about the Slavic people, we forget that the term Slav was the origin or root for the word slave. We forget that there was a time of slavery during the Dark and Middle Ages, when entire regions in Northern Europe were mapped out and identified as places where slaves could be acquired, and that was okay. We forget that the Silk Road was actually a network of slave trade that was so systematized that there were standard rates that did not change for slaves. History books will tell you that there were no slave networks in the Middle Ages, that the church banned it. But what they don't say is that the church allowed it against those who were either not Christian or not considered to be Christian. History will tell you many things, and all of it can be summarized in one phrase. It comes back. The past catches up with us eventually. Time follows patterns, and these patterns are almost as fixed and as predetermined as the stars. There was a time when we knew this, but we forgot. We focused on the wars and generals and politics so much that we forgot that humanity has only been free for a little over 100 years. Yet for many of us, we still have never had freedom. We have never seen freedom, and we still do not know what freedom is. I wonder as individuals whether or not we will ever know what freedom is. If our collective past is so bloody and dependent on the suffering of others, then will history repeat itself, and will our own suffering continue without true oppression? Will we play out our whole lives as slaves because we don't know how to be free? How long, then, will we have to wait again before we can finally face the question of ourselves? Above the entrance at the Temple of Delphi, there was an inscription that simply translated as, "Know thyself." For all the prophecies and predetermined outcomes, perhaps that was the secret to freedom. But to know one's self, we must understand our own past and the stories that influenced our lives and shaped our beliefs. To define what it means to be free as an individual, one must come to terms with their own revolution, and to have the courage to come to terms with who they really are, their mistakes, their own failures and limitations, or they may miss the opportunity to live free of who they once were. The truth about ourselves is what sets us free, and every story is a revolution. The past comes back to us until we choose to remember it. Only then can we actually change it. Only until you know your past can you truly define your own future and escape your revolution.